So, size. There are so many different sizes. As I said, the Citroen Dispatch, I believe, is about the smallest thing that you could possibly get away with. Unless you can find one of those really old little sort of Ford Astra vans, I think you can still sleep out full length in one of those, but they're even smaller. And, you know, in terms of your biggest, you know, you could go for a double-decker bus or, you know, a coach. However, probably the majority of people would go for an extra long wheelbase. So it's useful to go and find out, if you don't know about things like short wheelbase and high roofs, it's useful just to do a bit of Googling about that, because there's such a thing as short wheelbase, medium wheelbase, long wheelbase, and extra long wheelbase. And then you've got regular height, you've got a medium roof, and you've got a high roof. But you also want to be looking at the width, the internal width of your vans, because like Citroen Dispatch, you're talking maybe 4.5 foot, whereas some vans can be as much as nearly 6 foot across inside. So a high top, you may be looking at 6 foot, even sometimes a bit higher inside. So you really want to be looking at the size of your van. Now, you also want to consider, sorry, I just want to look in here, how many people are going to be actually living in this van, because I can tell you something, 2 people in the Citroen Dispatch is not going to be much fun unless you happen to be joined at the hip. You want to be thinking about how much storage space you're going to be wanting. You want to think about your ability to drive a large vehicle. If it's over 3.5 tons, you're going to need a special license. You want to think about the cost and the insurance. The bigger the van, usually the more expensive it is for the similar quality, and also the more expensive the insurance is. You want to be thinking about your fuel consumption. So my Citroen Dispatch used to do 45 to the gallon on the motorway, whereas I've now upgraded to a Vauxhall Movano and it only does 33 to the motorway. So you want to be thinking about that. A lot of people I know who are in quite big vans are getting maybe 20 to 25 to the gallon, which can be quite expensive if you're doing a long run. You also want to be thinking about parking. Right, so your average car park space will just about take a short wheelbase, and even then you're poking out of the car parking space. You know, thinking about a driveway or something like that. If you want to park, like, you know, go into regular supermarket car parks, you want to think about how much space you're actually going to be taking up. And also, if you're going for anything higher than 6 foot, 2 meters tall, you've got to think about the fact that a lot of car parks have bars over the top and you're not going to be able to get underneath. And also, if you're thinking about going on ferries, the length and the height of your vehicle will determine the price of your vehicle on the ferry too. You want to be thinking about how important for you it is to be able to stand up in your van, and how important it is for you to be able to sleep across the van. So in my Citroen Dispatch, there was no way I was going to be able to do that. It was like 4.5 foot across, so I had to sleep lengthwise. In my Vauxhall Movano, I can just get across. I sleep slightly on an angle. I'm 5'7", but I don't like having my head touching and my feet touching, so I sleep slightly on an angle. But if you're much more than 5'8" or so, 5'9" even, you're going to have to probably sleep lengthwise, which makes a different configuration inside the setup of your van. Now, so what I recommend is that you go somewhere where they have a lot of vans for sale. Now, when I upgraded from my Citroen Dispatch, I went to a place called Van Base, which is near Derby. Now, whether they have other places around the country, I don't know, but I'm sure there are similar places around the country. And what Van Base do is they buy up like fleets of old vehicles, like from St John's Ambulance or from the police, and they give them a bit of a once over, and then they sell them on as suitable vans to do conversions. And they usually have a huge range, and you can go in, you can get a feel for the size, you can see whether you want windows or not, because that's the other option you need to think about, how many windows you want to have in your van. So a lot of panel vans don't have any windows, where you could get like an old minibus that'll have windows all the way around, or you can get a crew van that has side windows, or occasionally you can get a panel van that just has windows in the rear doors. And you want to think about whether you want skylights, whether you've got to cut those in yourself, or whether the vehicle already has them, or whether it has an extractor thing in the roof. All that sort of thing you want to think about, because if you need to change any of that, it gets quite expensive. Okay, I think that just about covers most of the points in terms of your size of vehicle.